one thing, man. That's something I think about, and I feel guilty also for when I want to be selfish sometimes, enjoy things for myself.
Right.
Like, I want to travel the world. I want to travel the country and have experiences. And but I also want to leave something for my kids, not just experiences that I told them about.
Right.
So it's like trying to find that happy balance in between, because I think you got to have balance.
True. And a lot of it is, you know, you want to tell them about the world, but what good is telling them about the world if you've never experienced the world?
Right.
You know, and I think that's like a really dope aspect of it. Like, I want to be able to tell my son what it was like to see the running of the bulls in Spain one day.
I want to tell them I ran with the bulls.
Exactly. And you know, it's even doper to be able to
Jumped over the bull.
I was a part of that. I was with them and I saw it. You know, it's one thing to say something, because you got a lot of people who speak on stuff they know nothing about.
Right.
But at least you'll be able to say you lived. It's a difference of being alive and living. Everybody's alive. Few have lived.
You know, it's like crazy, man. Like, we're just in a position where we have to decide: do we spend more time building the wealth for our future generations,
Right.
or do we live a little bit more?
Exactly.
Because, like, I think about, like, we're not starting with a head start. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
we
yes.
started from the bottom.
And we got to work twice as hard.
Absolutely, just to catch up.
Just to catch up.
So it's like, dang, man, do you spend more time trying to work your ass off? One thing one of my partners told me is, have some good ass life insurance.
Yes.
Because when you die, that life insurance will be way more than what's in your bank account.
God, yes.
So that means spend a little bit more time, like pay that life insurance and spend more time teaching your kids life lessons and how to handle that money they're going to get once you pass.
It felt great knowing now, coming from the streets and being incarcerated and everything, and then getting married and having a family in the house, it felt great to know that, God forbid something should happen to me, my family does not have to worry about anything. Funerals covered and everything else is covered. They can live comfortably because I set that up and put that in place. Now, like I said, God forbid we should never have to be in that situation, but if it should, I know right now while I'm here, I have that peace of mind knowing I've already put my family ahead. They don't have to struggle or rely on anybody else to wonder where anything is coming from. I took care of that. And as a man, that's a great feeling.
For sure.
It's a great feeling.
For sure. I just hope that all this work we do don't go down in vain. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
God,
And a lot of us have that. A lot of us have that YOLO mentality.
Imagine smoke it up.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's the only chance.
Give it a chick to just burn through his cash.
I wish I will haunt him. I will just rattle stuff in the background like, you shouldn't have been there. Doing, and I know how hard-headed I was. Like, I had to learn a lot of lessons, if not most lessons, the hard way.
Don't touch that stove, it's hot.
Exactly. I learned it was hot. And they don't care nothing about you knowing it's hot once you find out. You know, it's a tough world to live in.
You been out to the Biltmore yet? In the mountains?
No, I haven't.
Do you know this dude ain't never had no job?
Generational wealth.
His I think his granddad invested into railroads.
Oh, at that time, could you imagine?
He was like the pioneer for the railroads.
That's what I want to create. Generational wealth.
The guy that built the Biltmore, since a kid, he was allowed to be artistic and just discover new things. Like, he traveled abroad as a kid, as a teenager, studied art and literature. He just studied all these things and was able to go to Africa and look at all these wild game and just really enjoy life and understand life. But he he tied all those experiences into something bigger and built the Biltmore. He made it function as a business.
And he will never be forgotten for that.
Biggest
Ever.
house in America. If you've never seen it, North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, we have the Biltmore Estate, which is the biggest house ever built in America. It is still there today. You can go visit it. It has more rooms than you can tour in one day. It is huge, and I think it was like built on 3,000 acres. It's ridiculous. They have a winery. They have
Bowling alleys, right?
they got a bowling alley in the crib. They have indoor plumbing in a house built in the late 1800s.
It wasn't even heard of back then.
They had a heated pool with lights in the pool, in the water,
Wow.
in the late 1800s. It's so dope. Like the pool will be refilled with water from the stream coming down the mountain. Right. When he built this crib, he built a railroad, like a stretch of railroad from the main railroad to his plot, so they can bring in all the goods and the equipment. And
See, when you invest in the railroads, they'll move mountains for you. Boy, invest in something. Look. How many of us want to take something? Well, let me get some rims, or let me get some Jordans, or whatever. But let me put myself in a situation that my son could get his son some rims or Jordans down the line. I don't mind working hard now, if it'll pay off later. I don't want everybody to say, "Oh, well, he was a Jones." There sure was a lot of them Joneses.
gotta keep up with them.
Right. What you keeping up with? If we all got the same thing. I don't want to do that.
It's possible.
It is.
That's a good thing.
It is.
It's
It is
possible.
so possible. Somebody once told me, if you can imagine it, it's possible.
You know what's something I looked at, man? You hear it all the time in the barbershop. Was like, oh man, back during segregation, black businesses were at their peak, and oh man, they were doing well. I don't believe it, so I looked up the research. That wasn't the case.
It wasn't. It couldn't have been. And if that was the case, well, if with that
We did have black businesses then, but as overall, all black people weren't doing well.
Not at all. And with that mentality, it's easier to be like, well, if that was the peak, there's nowhere else left to go. So it's easy to be complacent and sit back and think, oh well, you know, but that's with that thinking, you can't get anywhere. Right? There's no ceiling to this. Like, you can't just sit back and wait for somebody to give it to you either. Right? And we gotta stop having this victim mentality. You know,
It's hard not to.
it's hard
when you
not
are the
to.
victim.
When you are, you're already designed. You came out the womb the victim. So what are you gonna do now? That's the mentality.
Right.
So what are we gonna
It's
do?
embedded in us. It's in our DNA.
It is to sit back
Trauma,
and deal with the trauma and try to get these handouts and everything. So I choose not to do that. I lived in that society for a long time. I relied on $700 a month from disability because I went from the streets to government giving me $700 a month, thinking, okay, well, I'm good now. I'm good now. Oh man, 700?
My rent $400.
Like I'm living with my parents. I ain't got nothing to worry about. To deciding, you know what, if I'm gonna have a family and whatnot one day, I need more than this. This is not going to cut it. To the point where my wife encouraged me to go back to school and honestly put me in a trade that I have boundless potential to make. I went from making $700 a month to making sometimes $700 before Friday. I'm already winning. And it troubles me to think that some people are like, well, this is good enough. This is good enough for me. But then we want to bring other people into our mess. Like, okay, well, this is good enough for me, but let me also have a family who's going to struggle with me. No, not if I can do something about it.
I want some kids.
I
want some kids.
I can't raise a family off of $700 a month.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. So no.
I ain't gonna say every time they want to bring in kids. Sometimes we're just so jacked up mentally, spiritually, emotionally that we will allow our physical to go to,
Yes.
and we will sleep with people who are, and we'll make those bad decisions and sleep with people unprotected.
That
and just to
moment
feel
of
good.
that moment of passion will lead to a lifetime of pain.
Whoa, what you talking about?
Won't
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes, sir.
You know,
Jonesy, man, it's been a pleasure, man. We had some great food. The empanadas were amazing. We didn't get our
Amazing.
bagels.
Amazing.
We had, like I said,
Empanadas, Argentina,
yes, and this is at the Transfer Food Hall in downtown Raleigh on Davie Street.
on East Davis Street.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. Great place.
So this is my boy Jonesy. He's a barber at the barber shop, and we just do this, man. That's what we do, man. We kind of do it at the barber shop, mainly.
We do.
This is our first time going
We
out
do.
together.
Yes.
Yeah, he took me out. I picked him up, and I was late. But yeah, together we make barbers better. This is Reggie Winston. Thank you for watching. We're gonna have more conversations coming to you soon. Jones is gonna start his YouTube channel, y'all. Go follow him. Plug your Instagram.
My Instagram is Jonesy_sharp. Can't miss it.
And Jonesy spelled J-O.
Nesy.
All right, cool. Because I used to spell it with a Z. All right, y'all. Jonesy. Slap the camera, Jonesy.
Yeah.